and envision this hamburger and then give us a facial reaction of what it would taste like or how you feel about it, or doing all these ridiculous things in a corner of your bedroom while you're trying to get it in between the loud construction noise outside, or your Zoom connection is failing and you're looking at a fucking post-it note on a wall. If you just step back and look at all of that, that is the reality, and that is the life, the not so glamorous life. Welcome to Casually Spiraling with me, Julie Bishop, just a tall girl in this world trying to make sense of life, dating, money, relationships, identity, culture. You know, all the things. I learned that my thoughts don't always land with the people around me, so I'm here to break it all down, talk it out, probably overshare, and maybe find some who don't think I'm totally crazy after all. Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Casually Spiraling. I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, what have you guys been up to this week? I haven't had too crazy of a week. I was dog sitting this week, and it was just the cutest, most well-trained dog. I feel like I usually have the dogs that are like, keep them away from other people and other animals and watch out for this and that and the other thing. But this dog was just so good, so friendly. Could actually bring him around other dogs, and he was just chilling. Like, he really just wanted a friend to sit next to. He didn't ask for anything. He just wanted to sit right next to you. Literally would be looking up at the TV as if we were both watching TV together and needed nothing else. So he was really, really cute. Shout out, Bruce. I love you. But besides that, yeah, I feel like I haven't been up to anything too crazy or eventful. Yeah, not much has been going on. So let's just get into it. I asked you guys on the social media, I put up a post and was like, what topics do you guys want to hear or that you're missing or, want to hear more about? And some of the responses I got were revolving around acting. And when I started this podcast, I was like, this is not an actor doing an acting podcast about acting. Like, I listen to those. There are a lot of those. But I wanted this to be completely separate from that life. There's more interesting things to me. There's more about me. I had a lot of other things to share and spiral about going on for me than my other pursuits and career. But so I was surprised that I got any responses saying wanted to hear more about acting, because I was like, this is not going to be what it's about. I did interview some actors, had Ananda on, got to interview her about her experience and the work she's done. And so I've touched on it here and there. And I love talking to other actors, interviewing, hear about other people's experiences. And I'd love to do more of that. But just when I'm here solo, spiraling to you guys, it was never my intention for it to just be about that and that pursuit. I wanted this to be separate. But then I saw responses. So we're just going to do one episode here about it. Give the people what they want. Maybe not all of you want this. Can't please you all. Sorry. But yeah, so this is from one of those responses, and we'll get into more other topics next week. But let's get into it. Regarding this topic, I kind of wanted to talk about an overall of what people think acting is versus what it actually is, and the misconceptions that people have when they hear, oh, you're an actor, or they mean an actor, or they have a friend who's an actor, or this or that. There's so many misconceptions of the life that it actually is versus what people think it is. So that's kind of where I wanted to go today with it. I have a lot of personal experiences from this, so it should be fun and interesting. So yeah, let's get into it. The first one that I think is the first misconception is that actors are rich and have a lot of money, and you see someone on your TV screen and you assume they got the money. They got a lot of money now. But yeah, no, this is a conversation probably that no one wants to have. But yeah, the assumption is if you're an actor and you're working or booking, you're making good money, you're making affordable money, you're living off acting and the income you get from that and are comfortable and maybe even rich off of it. When the reality is that only 2% of actors make their money from acting and their living income from acting. And that, it may be less now. That was always the percentage I knew and heard previously. Now I wouldn't be surprised if it was less, right? But 2% make their living solely from acting. 2%. That's scary. That's a very low number. The people that you see on TV or in movies or shows that you love, many of them are not set. Even a lot of the big actors that you know, think about it, so many have other income streams. They're doing tequila brands. They're doing makeup brands, other alcohol. They're doing commercials. It used to be frowned upon and shamed upon for known actors to do commercials. Now they're in the majority of commercials, getting that extra money. They're doing makeup deals. They're doing social media presences. They're doing conventions, brand sponsorships, any other thing that they can tag their name on, they are, because those are what are providing them additional income and maybe possibly, probably more income than what they're making off of acting. Because acting alone does not cover the most of it, even when you're working, a lot of it, even with your working. For example, if you listen to podcast Smartlist, that's another thing. All actors now are having podcasts. Another form of income, another stream, something that they can have to fall back on. That is more stable because the acting work is never stable. But if you listen to Smartlist, Will Arnett, Sean Hayes, Jason Bateman, 3 huge no names, 3 actors who have been in big projects, successful TV shows that have run multiple seasons, have directed, done voiceover, they do all the stuff. Broadway for Sean. And yet they constantly talk about on their podcast that Smartless is the most successful thing that they've done. They say it all the time. This is the thing that has made them the most money after years and years and years of them doing acting and entertainment and those other forms of acting. They always say, if you listen constantly to their podcast, Smartless had become the most successful thing they've done. This random podcast that they started in COVID because there was nothing else going on over Zoom, which probably is shocking because they've been around and successful in the acting industry for a while. And you would think that that could mean someone is surviving. And yes, they're surviving, of course, and they're in different situations. But they all have all these other things going on besides acting solely to be able to maintain and the stream of income. And it's not just solely relying on acting. Barely anyone does that. Isn't there also Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds? I think Ryan Reynolds has the tequila brand, right? Someone? Maybe Ryan I forget. One of the Ryans, I think, has a huge tequila brand. And yeah, that is another, probably a bigger portion of their income than the acting jobs. And also another factor, I think, when people hear about the amount of money that maybe if you book a guest role, let's say, on a project, and when people hear the amount that you would make in one day, I think the SAG minimum is like 1,000 something, right? So hearing that you would make that much in one day sounds like a lot, and it is a lot for one day. But so they're like, oh my gosh, like you can make that in one day. You are set. Like that's crazy. That's a lot of money. This rich, money. But when reality, you don't think about the years and years of money that you've had to invest into this career prior to get just one day of work on set. And that's just one day out of the year that you were booked as an actor. You can't survive off of that $1,000 all year long, right? And you've put so much money prior into this career to get that one day of work that barely covers the surface. The amount of money that you've had to put into classes, to coaches, to schools, to headshots, to the the sites that we have to have online for our agents, the union fees are if you're a part of the union, your self-tape equipment, because you have to have a whole studio now, the time that you've put unpaid, and I can go on and on. The wardrobe that you need for headshots, for auditions, the random, all the things. There's so many things that you have to spend money on. Maybe you've moved cities, moved markets, moved your whole life up. There's so much stuff prior to that one day on set that you have to put so much money into that $1,000 in one day of work may seem like a lot, but it covers barely anything that you've put into it already. So to even just make all the money back that you've put into it is so difficult. And it's not a job where you book one day and then you keep going Monday through Friday over and over and over again. You could work one day and then not work for another 6 months and just have one other day. Like, the amount of days of the year that you are on set is very small compared to other jobs, that you may be comparing it to, where you're there Monday to Friday, 52 days, 252 weeks of the year, So the number can seem like a lot, and that can be the assumption, but the amount of money and the investment and the time and the crazy things you got to do prior to making that one paycheck is so much more. It is not a get rich quick situation. The misconception that I've heard people be like, oh yeah, it's easy, especially when I was in Atlanta, because the market was newer there. So I think people were already living there and they're like, oh, I live here and now the market is here. So it's just gonna be easy. It's easy to become an actor. So I'll just easily become an actor and make a lot of money because it seems like actors are rich. If you pursue acting, you better not do it for any money, because you will not be making money. You will not be making money, and it will be the opposite for a very long time. The thought of just, let me become an actor, it's easy and I'll make a lot of money, is insane. It's insane. You will not be making money. You'll be very broke. You'll be living paycheck to paycheck, hustling your ass, and maybe barely make any of the money back doing actually the job that you want to do. People hear you say like, oh yeah, I'm an actor, and I think they picture a certain lifestyle. But the reality is that for most of us, it looks a lot more like checking your bank account, figuring out how to make it work. How can I keep going? How can I keep surviving, pursuing this, and making the time and money that you need to put into it? So it's a little scary, and it's definitely not what people picture. Not at all. And that kind of leads me into the second misconception that I think often comes with what people think acting is. And that would be the glamorous life, the pretty picture, the having your hair and makeup get done for you and your wardrobe picked out to you, in a car coming and picking you up every day, and red carpets and photo shoots and brand deals and this and that. The glamorous life. But that, again, is such a small percentage. Even if you do make it and are on a show or movie, that is not your everyday. That is the days that the public sees. But it's a very small portion of the day and of the life of an actor, and a very small percentage of the actors. It's assumed that it's always exciting and it's always glamorous every single day and it always looks like a movie. When the reality is that for most actors, it's very much not, very much more a normal life where you're working a restaurant job, you're bartending, and you're also having to figure out how to work so many jobs to pay your bills, and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you're running around pouring hours and hours into a career that does not have visible results, as I've talked about, and you're living with roommates and you're moving cities to make it work, and you're balancing this pursuit while also real life and also finances, and I'm dog sitting and I'm running, trying to keep up with my energy and my physique and go to the gym and this and that, and you're working multiple things and you're running around, and then you do an audition and you're setting up your self-tape equipment in your tiny bedroom, trying to make it fit between your bed and your wall, and you're having to get someone to read the lines for you that may have never acted before, or maybe over Zoom on a computer, and you have to put a post-it note on your wall to talk to and try to connect to as an eye line. And then your neighbor starts playing really loud music just when you want to record, or they decided to ramp up a garbage truck outside, or they decided time to do construction right outside your shitty apartment window when you're just trying to get a scene or a take in, and that's clogging up the sound. And then in the audition, they ask you to do something crazy, like run around in circles for this commercial audition so we can see how you run. Or can you imagine that you're looking at our product and react to it in all these different ways and envision this hamburger and then give us a facial reaction of what it would taste like or how you feel about it, and you're just in your room doing these insane things. Or they want you to, I don't know, you're dancing at a party, but there's no music there that you can hear or dance to, so let's see what you got. Or doing all these ridiculous things in a corner of your bedroom while you're trying to get it in between the loud construction noise outside, or your Zoom connection is failing and you're looking at a fucking post-it note on a wall. And if you just step back and look at all of that, that is the reality, and that is the life, the not so glamorous life that for most people it is. And yes, those have all come from real experiences. The shit that they ask you to do in a self-tape audition can be actually insane. They want you to jump off a bridge, run around to a different location, and go upstairs and downstairs and sit down and lay down and stand up, but all do it within your one frame that you have and make it look realistic and feel real to you. And also you're holding a gun that you don't actually have, and you're in 2 degrees, but actually you're inside your apartment and this or that. And yeah, I'll do that within a single frame that your camera is set up on a tripod and make sure that it's chest to top of head framing at all time. That is the reality of what you are trying to do and what acting life actually it is. It's really not glamorous at all. And this is very real. One commercial audition did want me to run around and just chase me around. And how do I ask a friend, like, hey, can you chase me around with this camera? Can you do this? Can you scream for me? Or this or that. It is so awkward and weird and not glamorous when you step out and look at it, I promise. The actual experience and is just so much further than. The life is way different than what is expected. And the expectation is to make all of this look so effortless and easy on screen. So when you see someone who's booked a job, just know all of the crazy stuff that they probably were asked to do to make it look so effortless and pretty and cute on screen. The hours and hours that go unseen, the preparation, the memorization, the self-taping, the submitting, the editing, the waiting, the rejection, the never hearing back. None of it is public or pretty or cute, but that is what the job is. That's what the job is. That is the reality of the job. People just picture the red carpets and the on-set trailers and being given food and crafty and the hair and makeup artists. And really the reality is I'm waiting for that fucking leaf blower outside to stop so I can finish my recording when I'm pretending to taste some fucking sandwich for a commercial that I most likely will never book. And it is just so ridiculous. The next misconception that I often notice that people think what reacting is versus what it really is that if you're not famous, then you're not actually an actor. You're not an actor. But the real thing is that auditioning is the job. And so is everything else that nobody sees. But really, auditioning is the job. There's this interview with Bryan Cranston that went very, very viral, especially within the acting community, where he talks about this. But auditioning is the job, and that's what is treated like the job. So the assumption is like, oh, you're not on the one show that I watch or the one show that I know of or the billboards that are outside, or you're not working with a recognizable name or celebrity, then you are just pursuing acting. You're not an actual actor. You're not really an actor. You may be pursuing it, but don't you dare call yourself an actor, because I've never seen you before. I've never seen you before. You don't know my favorite celebrity. You never worked with them or are my favorite show. So why would you be an actor? But the reality is, auditioning is the job. Full stop. The percentage of people who actually book any given role is so incredibly small. And yet, showing up, preparing, submitting, self-taping, going in, that is the work. There's so much behind it that goes into the work that professionals do every single day. Even the actors you do know that are still having to audition, especially in a time right now when there's so much less work. That doesn't make you not an actor. And I think that's what the assumption is. If I don't recognize you, then you're not an actor. And half the time, the actual work isn't even the acting at all. That's just one part of it. A lot of the time, the actual work looks like me in sweats in my bed, and I'm sitting at a laptop responding to emails or sending out emails or submissions, or I'm re-editing my demo reel, or I'm updating my profiles, or I'm researching agents or managers, or researching the market that I'm in and what's the trends of the entertainment industry right now, and how can I fit into that, and where do I fit into that, and what can I play into that works for me, that could help me or give me my edge. Or it's reading scripts, or it's filming a special skills video of you doing pottery or some gymnastics or playing basketball for some special skill for your commercial agent to stock up on, or it's getting measured to make sure that your sizes are updated. There's so many other random things that are part of the work besides just performing a scene or a monologue that go into it. So no, just because you aren't on your favorite show does not mean you're not putting in the work and you're not doing the work of an actor and that you're not an actor. None of it really looks like what is pictured or what they think of actor work. Like my day to day, that's why I never even, like, when people ask me, oh, what did you do today? Do you really want to know like every day the little things that go into it besides just when you have an audition? Like all the in-between time besides going to class and when you have an audition, it's all these emails, research, what else can I be doing? Do I need to update this and checking on my profiles and so much else, because it's your own business. You are your CEO of your own business. So that is more what the job looks like than actually the performance itself. Of course, you have to be talented and you have to be able to show up and you have to be able to do that. And that is the fun part that we are striving for. And that is what gives us the energy and the excitement. And that is what we want out of it. But before you get there, there is so much else that is actually the job. And on top of that, there's so much else that actually is the job than just what you see on your screen behind the camera lens. And I think a lot of actors know that specific sting when someone asks you, oh, what celebrities do you know or you work with? And you don't have an answer for them. You can't satisfy them. They want to be satisfied. You can't satisfy them. And that question is just designed to make you feel less than. And like you're not actually an actor doing the work, putting in the work all the day and all the hours that just go unseen. You're putting in so much of these professional hours every single week. And just because the public doesn't see it or it's not pretty doesn't mean it doesn't count and doesn't mean you're not an actor. Auditioning is the job, and that is putting in the work for that. And the emails and the research and the reel, all of it is the job. So much goes into this job because it is your business and there's so many different aspects of it. And yeah, just because the fact that that's a little bit more invisible doesn't make it less real. Okay. The next misconception that I hear from people is They think that once you get one booking, you got it. Now you're made. You're set and you've made it. But oh, how the industry is so up and down and such a roller coaster. And oh, how yes, you can book a job and you can work with A-list actors and this and that. And then you could not have work for years. Or you can be on such a rise and a rise and a rise and a grind and then just drop off and be so difficult to get something for a while. And then it's just such an up and down roller coaster. And the assumption is that once you book one thing, you are set and you've made it and your career is established and it only goes up from there. But the reality is that the industry is constantly changing and evolving and constantly going up and down, and it's genuinely unstable and unpredictable, even for people who do have real success. And you see a lot. And there's just a lot of things that are always making it change and evolving and different. And the taste of people and what they want is changing and evolving. Certain genres are more popular during certain times. Superhero stuff is popular and then something drops off. It used to be huge. Sitcom comedies used to be so huge. And now trying to get one that is sustainable and last is really difficult. It's all ebbing and flowing. It's all changing. And you never know when you're actually set or stable in the industry. Or even if a lot of series regulars, like book a series regular role or hopefully on that show for a few years or multiple seasons and years, and then the show ends and they can't get another job. They've only been seen in this one role in this one thing, and then it's impossible for them to move their career forward and get another job. So it's never, usually for the majority and reality of it is, it's not once you just get one and then you've made it. It's the hope that you get a good flow, and then that leads to other jobs and leads to you meeting someone else and being seen and recognized and booking other things. That's definitely the hope, but a lot of the times it's not the case, or it could go like that for a while and then stop and all of a sudden become so difficult, and it just really ebbs and flows. And then you had things like COVID and the strike and now AI, and it's just pushed back things significantly. Actors who had real momentum and credits and bookings are struggling to get work, struggling to sustain their lives off acting, and the career just never seems to be guaranteed unless maybe you're in that top 2%. And even then, the industry is still shifting. Auditions used to be in person. That used to work for actors, and now auditions are self-tapes. That may not work for the in-person actors, or maybe it works for some and then they're asked to go in person and it's really different and they don't know how to adjust. Things keep changing, and one booking is a win and it's amazing. It's the biggest win ever and it matters, but it's not quite the finish line. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm here now, we're good, I'm coasting. It's kind of just instead the beginning of this new level of the same uncertainty and a new step and a new mountain to now climb and overcome. Someone can have worked with A-list actors, well-known actors have received real credits to their name and still be struggling to get their next job. And that's the industry. It's never as stable as it seems on the outside. Not quite at all. Okay, the next misconception of acting and what it actually is versus what it seems people seem to think of it would be overnight successes. A lot of people, all of a sudden get a job or an actor on a show that all of a sudden becomes really popular, and then it's like, oh my God, you've turned into this overnight success. I would want to say 99.99% of the time, that is not the case. This is just the first thing that they are being seen in public. Yet the public didn't see probably 10 or so years prior to that booking and that success story of the work and the rejection and the auditions and the failed projects and this or that prior. It did not just happen overnight. The amount of time and money and work and effort that is not seen or put into it is there prior. They are just now overnight, because shows just come out overnight now, are being shown to the public, but they're really is not such a thing usually as an overnight success. Someone becomes well known through a project and it seems like it just happened. Oh, I just know you now. You're on my social media now. You're popping up on my timeline. You're on this streaming service now. You're number one on Netflix. And it just seems like, oh, overnight, it just happened, came out of nowhere, and now suddenly you are everywhere. But the reality is behind that, almost every overnight success is like 10 years of work no one saw, right? They've been to classes, auditions, worked with coaches, so many auditions prior to this one, so many rejections, near misses, near gots, like they made it all the way up to down 2 or 3 people and then didn't get it. Or maybe they were offered jobs before that fell through. The money didn't go into it. Or they did a pilot and that show never got picked up. And they had a million side jobs, restaurant jobs, worked all the random oddest jobs that we work. And just grinded outside of the public eye. And now all of it is happening in that one moment. People are now paying attention to them. But that overnight success wasn't overnight. That was just the first time the public was watching, And this misconception can be really damaging because then other actors or actors who are newer and still trying to get their footing can see this and see this label of overnight success and be like, why has that not happened for me? Or they can think of like, oh, okay, I just need to do a little bit of work here and then overnight, okay, it'll all work out and everything will be okay. It can be hurt. It can really hurt people, trying to pursue this and keep going and keep their motivation high. But then they see this term overnight success and they're like, oh, I just wish that'd be me. I just wish someone would pluck me out from the crowd and be like, you're a star. You're a star and you're going to make it and I'm going to make you big. And then the next day, bam, it all works out. And that can be a really tough comparison if that's what you're told is the reality. But that's not the reality. It is just warping everyone's sense of the timeline and what a realistic timeline looks like. It makes people think it's going to happen for them quickly. And, I'm just going to, like I said before, what I heard people say, like, I'm just going to take up acting and it's just going to work out. And that's just going to be my shortcut into success. But when in reality, success in this industry is very, very slow and usually is not seen until suddenly it isn't, right? When I make it one day and I book that role, because I will, I'm just going to keep saying it. When I do, there's going to be all these years. It's going to be all my time in undergrad. It's going to be all my time in high school, theater, and short films. It's going to be me moving to Atlanta and discovering new coaches and discovering myself and all the classes I did and all the time. It's going to be my work with behind the scenes. It's going to be me starting this podcast and learning other sides of the entertainment industry. It's going to be me moving to LA. It's going to be all the classes I've done and the auditions and the improv and the people I've met and the other actors I've met and learned from. And like I said, all that other work that you don't see, the emails, the submissions, the adding to your profiles, the mentors, the this and that and that and that and that. And that people won't have seen that. Nobody sees that. That's my everyday. And that's not stalling or anything. That's just the process. So, that would be my journey as well. It's been years and it's going to be years. And if you think about it too, a lot of the big actors, like just think about it, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis. There's a lot of A-list actors who you didn't see until they were in their, I don't even know, 40s, maybe 50s. You think just all of a sudden they became that good and they became Oscar winners? I'm sure those years and years and years in their 30s and 20s, we never saw them. But now all we can think about is like, oh, they are so huge and so talented and so big. But I think you forget, like, we weren't even introduced to them until, I forget Viola Davis, like 40s, I forget how old she was and How to Get Away with Murder and her other things, The Help and this and that. But there were so many years prior that we just didn't see. But now we just see them, right, as the successes that they are and the talented women and people and actors. And there's so many more that they are. But we just didn't get to see all those years and years and years and years prior, you know? So I think now just gonna quickly, wrap up, conclude, summary. There's a lot of assumptions of what this life looks like or what it could be for you or someone and versus what it really, really is. And a lot of the sides that people don't talk about because, it's not cute. It's not pretty. It's not the glamour. It's not rich. It is broke. It is struggling. It is crying. It is questioning yourself all the time. There's just so many misconceptions. There's just general ones now too that I can explain and go through. But to start out, like the financial investment before you ever make a dollar from it, right? The emotional resilience of constant rejection as a normal part of the job. That is the norm. I find that a lot of people, when I tell them, oh, I have an audition, and they're like, when do you hear back? And I'm like, people just assume you hear back. Casting directors don't have time to hear back from you. You don't hear back unless you either got the role, you got a call back, and you're moving on. Most of the time, you hear nothing. You put out so much work all the time and hear nothing. You send out so many emails and hear nothing. You put out so many tapings and you hear nothing. There's nothing. You don't hear back. They don't have the time to respond to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of actors auditioning for that one role, while they have to cast every single role in the film or show or episode or whatever it may be. It's just constant rejection, not hearing back. You do an audition and you throw away the sides. You get rid of it because you can't hold on to any of that. There's no finding out or knowing. The only thing you'll know is if you get it. And sometimes they move on fast. And I've heard from actors, oh, I auditioned for one thing and I didn't realize the payoff for it until a year later when they were like, oh, I remembered you auditioned for that role. You weren't quite fit for that role, but I've kept you in mind and now I want you for this role. So you didn't see the payback from it for years later. There's so many examples of that. Or, I auditioned for it. I never heard anything. I assumed I didn't get it. Something happened to the film. It got put on pause. You hear about it 8 months later and they're like, oh yeah, we want to call you back in now. For something I did 8 months ago, it's just constant never knowing. It's constant throwing shit into the abyss and hoping something sticks, but you never hear back, right? That's not how it rolls. It's not how it operates. It's quick moving, it's busy, and it's a lot of shit to do. So I think that's another thing people get surprised about. There's no, oh, when do you know you're going to hear back from? You don't hear back unless you get it, girl. You just got to keep moving. You do your auditions, you do the work, you submit it, you do your best, you do what you can, show them who you are, and you keep moving. You throw out the sides and never think about it again unless you book it. And you just keep on trucking. And that kind of leads into, the discipline that you need to treat auditions and all of the behind the scenes work as your job. You need so much discipline because there's so much that someone is not going to sit you down and make you do. You're not going to clock in and clock out and be told this is what you have to do. You got to figure it out for your own and start doing it and create your to-do list yourself and create your own 9 to 5, create your everyday full-time job, that 40 hours a week that you're going to put into it. It takes so much discipline that people may not assume about actors that they have. And, again, think actors are all dumb and just pretty faces or this or that. But so much hustling and figuring it out happens alongside of that big, fancy, glamorous dream. And that kind of leads me into something that just popped up is that a lot of actors just assume, oh, like you got a pretty face or this or that. You should be an actor. When acting is supposed to represent real people. And now I know there's the CW shows where they're all very pretty and gorgeous and they're 30-year-olds playing 18 and there's no way actual 18-year-olds can look like that, right? And sure, early aughts, it was all skinny, white, beautiful, blonde faces on all the screens. But there definitely has been a little bit of a shift, and I think people want to see actual humans represented, right? And there's different characters and niches for everyone, and just fitting that one mold is kind of boring, right? So that was another misconception, oh, you're pretty, you can just do it. when it takes a lot of work and talent, besides no matter what you look like, right? And then the other, another thing to conclude to think about is you got to be financially stable outside of this industry, because like I talked about how this will not make you money. So you got to have your other means to make you financially stable, because this is not what's going to be your stream of income or bring you that money. And you can't have a desperate mindset going into, I have to book this job because I need to pay rent. You can't rely on your financial needs coming from this job. It just won't work for you, especially when you're in the pursuit of it. It's gotta be the love that takes you into pursuing this. You can't do it just because you like it, because it's so tough, and again, there's no money out of it. It's gotta be the love for doing it that keeps you going, because it'll be really, really tough for you if it's something else. It'll be really, really hard to keep going and not give up if it's something else, because the returns are invisible and the timeline is uncertain and crazy and the stability is uncertain and crazy. You gotta love it. If you only like it, bye, you're gonna be out. You have to love it. You have to do it because this is what you want to do and you don't see yourself doing anything else. That is an important factor to it. And then, just overall, the fact that being an actor is running your own business, your small business essentially, and you are the CEO of that. And you have to do the admin, the research, the marketing, the social media, the networking, on top of actually knowing how to act and the craft itself. There's so much more on top of it, right? There is all these other aspects you're balancing. Plus, you need to be really talented and know what you're doing and know what acting means to you and your craft. But you also have to do all that other research and marketing and business side of it. And you have to know how to run your own business for yourself. And it just takes a lot of strength to pursue something that is so unpredictable in a world that this world measures success in very visible and tangible ways. And that just usually is not how it goes for actors and in this career. Nobody gets into it because it's safe and it's guaranteed and it's easy. You do it because you can't do it and you can't do anything else. And that has to be enough to keep going. Especially on the days when you don't have an audition or you don't have the tangible stuff in front of you. So that is just a little bit of my thoughts on maybe what is assumed to have been what it's like for actors, or the life that it gives you, versus what it actually is, and behind the scenes of the not so pretty realities of what it actually is. I hope this was fun and entertaining, and maybe you learned something and maybe an insight to a world that you don't know anything about. Because I know this world, but I don't know my friends' 9-to-5 corporate job worlds, right? Everyone has their own different pursuits and passions, and I find it really fascinating learning about others. So maybe this gives a little bit more insight to people who have no idea about any of this. Or maybe you are in a similar situation. You're like, yes, 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 preach, preach, preach. I go through the same things. Hopefully, either way, it was fun for you. Especially to you who requested it. I'm listening to you, and I want to give you guys what you want. So in terms of that, DM me, comment what more topics you want to hear about, or maybe you've been looking, or you're like, oh, well, I wish someone would talk about this because I'm going through it, or this or that, So let me know, share. Do you have something you're pursuing that people around you maybe don't fully understand, or there's a lot of misconceptions around? That'd be really cool for me to learn about or hear about. Let me know. Share this with your friends who think it's fun or going through the same things. Subscribe, all that fun stuff that I gotta say here. And I hope that you do. But I love you guys, and we'll see you next time, next Thursday on Casually Spiraling.